Another mushroom that grows on birch trees is this one here, and this is the Tinder hoof, Fomes fomentarius. Some of you may be familiar with the story of Ötzi the Iceman, who was discovered in the Tyrol, frozen into the ice, on the Austrian-Italian border a few years ago. Ötzi had various wounds in his body that showed that he may well have been recently attacked. And he also had signs of osteoarthritis, possibly from walking long distances. You know, who knows what set that up, but he was basically a long distance traveller on foot, so his joints must have been under a great deal of wear. But he was carrying two fungi. He was carrying the Tinder hoof and also this other birch fungus, the birch polypore. And I find this really fascinating because not only did he have almost a complete medical toolkit in his pouch with these two fungi, but he also had the ability to create fire. Tinder hoof is probably the best known tinder fungus. Inside there is a woolly material that can be scraped and it becomes like felt, or sort of, you know, velvety really. You can crush it and it will take a spark from a piece of flint and a piece of steel, and back in Ötzi's day it probably would have meant a lump of iron pyrites and a piece of flint was struck together to create a spark, which would then catch in this woolly material and start to propagate fire. So he had the means for making fire. The other mushroom, the birch polypore that he carried, can be set light to with the glowing tinder from the other mushroom and will actually burn with quite a hot flame. It's a bit like one of those little hexamine fire bricks that people used to use in camp stoves quite a bit. So it was good from that point of view. But there were lots of other things he could do with these fungi. The Tinder hoof and also the birch polypore both have a reputation for being anti-inflammatories with a particular action upon the joints. So for somebody with arthritis and arthritic pain going on, travelling long distances on foot, tea made from these mushrooms would have actually given him quite a degree of relief. And also because it's acting in basically a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory way, it would be a bit like taking ibuprofen or aspirin or something like that. So if he got ill with something, you know, there was a whole variety of reasons you might take those drugs. This mushroom would have had a fairly similar effect on his body. Another property in particular of the birch polypore, the second of these two birch mushrooms, is that it destroys intestinal parasites, and Ötzi actually had intestinal parasites. When they actually looked at his mummified body, they found evidence that he had whipworm, for example. And he may well have been treating it with this mushroom. It may have been a traditional cure for the whipworm. So, all in all, quite a lot of different uses. The powder, this one, the birch polypore, has also traditionally been used as a styptic to stem bleeding and cause, it has an astringent effect that causes wounds to dry up very, very quickly, and it's antibacterial too, so it would have sterilised the wounds in the process. So if you think about it, although he had a pouch with two little pieces of hard woody fungi in them, he actually had a whole medical toolkit. He could cure his parasites, relieve his joint inflammation, heal wounds, and make fire from it, just with these two little lumps of mushroom. Tinder hoof has got quite a history. It's the earliest, I think probably the earliest known record of the use of a medicinal mushroom, and certainly outside of China. So it was written about both by Dioscorides and Hippocrates. And in the context of being an anti-inflammatory, but also it was used to treat something that when you read the description sounds very much like they were treating tuberculosis. So it's even back then, was probably being used to treat tuberculosis. And we now know that in particular with this mushroom, the Tinder hoof, it has anti-tubercular properties. It can be used to treat tuberculosis. So the birch tree is giving us quite a few very, very good medicinal mushrooms. And I think there's a point to be made there, which is that the birch tree itself is a source of a great many medicines. Birch sap is wonderfully medicinal. Betulinic acid from the birch tree has incredibly high antioxidant status, and that's being concentrated in all three of these birch mushrooms, so that there's even more of it than is found in the actual living tissue of the tree. Melanin is also being concentrated in particular in this mushroom, but the melanin is being produced, most of it, in the birch tree itself. So these are harvesting raw materials from the birch tree and concentrating them into an immediately usable and much stronger form.